When you think of Arc Hunter, you think of the combination blow gameplay loop. But what if I told you that with my build, you can throw unlimited skip grenades while quite literally making thousands of orbs for yourself and your teammates? So if you want to know how to do all of this, make sure you stick to the end of the video. Now before we go any further, there are two things that you need to have. One being Shinobu's Vow and a crowd clearing monster with Demolitionist. I have a Forbearance from Onslaught that has Demolitionist and Chain Reaction. But going back to Shinobu's Vow, these gauntlets make your skip grenades track harder. You get 2 of them, and whenever they hit something, it gives you grenade energy back, and you get quite a bit. And when done correctly, you can throw up to 5 skip grenades back to back. But I mean, that's what you're here for, so let's look into the subclass. And starting off with the super, we're going to be running Gathering Storm. Now to be honest, you can really run anything that you want, it really ain't that deep, but I really like one-off supers, and Gathering Storm is a great one. I would also like to mention it has a better base cooldown, with it being the same as Storm's Edge, so basically pick whatever one you have more fun with. For the dodge, we're just going to use Gamblers so that we can get our melee back. Now don't worry, we're not going to be doing the combination blow, and I'll explain why we're choosing Gamblers soon. But for the jump, it doesn't really matter. But for the melee, we're going to be taking combination blow since it has the lowest cooldown. Then for the grenades, of course, we're going to be using the skip grenade. If you choose something else, then Shinobu's Vow just won't work. Then for the aspect, we're going to be choosing flow state. This aspect really is just a quality of life thing, as defeating jolted targets makes you amplified. And while you're amplified, your dodge comes back quicker, you're more resilient when dodging, and you reload faster. The next aspect is going to be Tempest Strike. Now honestly, I just wanted a cool way to expend my melee rather than just combination blowing, and this does do a pretty good amount of damage as you kind of just uppercut and jolt anything that's in front of you. If you want to use anything else, feel free to do that. But moving on to the fragments, the first one's going to be Spark of Shock, and this just makes our skip grenades jolt. And for this next one, it's low-key a toss-up, as Spark of Discharge allows our arc weapon final blows to have a chance of creating an ionic trace. And Spark of Ions is just straight up if you defeat a jolted target, you get an ionic trace. Now I'm not gonna lie, I'm a dirty Forbearance spammer, so if you don't have Forbearance and are wanting using something else, you could switch to Spark of Ions and probably have the same effect. And after you've chosen what you wanted, the next fragment we're going to choose is Spark of Beacons. This makes it so that both your special and your heavy weapon do a blinding explosion whenever you get a final blow with them. This fragment is crazy good, especially in higher level content like Expert Onslaught, where the enemies are chunkier, and when you get that final blow after jolting everyone, it will blind everyone, allowing you to throw more skip grenades freely and shoot more safely. Then last but not least, we're using Spark of Amplitude since we're always going to be amplified and rapidly defeating targets while you're amplified make an orb. I don't believe this has a crazy cooldown, so stacking this with a bunch of other armor mods makes us poop out so many orbs. But now with all that out of the way, let's move on to the weapons and armor mods. For the primary weapon, doesn't really matter, I'm using Midnight Coup. Then for your special, make sure it's Arc. I'm using Forbearance because it also has Demolitionist, which also feeds into our skip grenades. The new weapon mod, Synergy, also helps us get more ionic traces on top of that. For the heavy weapon, literally anything that's Arc can work, as all of them will blind. I'm using Prospector since it got reworked and there's lots of big boom. Then for the helmet, we're going to be running double ashes to asset to get our super faster since we're throwing so many skip grenades. And then an arc siphon since we have 2 arc weapons. Then on the arms, we're running a grenade kickstart so that when we do throw both of the grenades, we can get a head start on getting it back sooner. A fastball, so I don't really care about how I'm arcing the grenades, and the firepower so that whenever we do get a kill with the grenades, we can make an orb. For the chest, it doesn't really matter, just match it to whatever the enemy is using. For the boots, we're going to be running recuperation since we're making so many orbs, we can kind of use all of these orbs as health packs since arc low-key lacks in survivability. Elemental charge because we're also making a lot of ionic traces, which in turn can give us more armor charges and get more skip grenades. Then on top of that, we're running an intervention so that when we do pick up these orbs, we reduce our grenade cooldown. So not only are these health packs, we also get more grenade energy from them. For the cloak, we're running a Reaper so that when we dodge, our next kill makes an orb. Powerful attraction to collect these orbs when we dodge. And a bomber so that when we dodge, we also reduce our grenade cooldown. This is how my artifact setup. I'd say the only real one that you want is Trace Evidence, as you can make more ionic traces when you jolt people. And if you use the tonic, you can get an armor charge from all of these ionic traces. But now that we've gone over all of how to set this up, what is the gameplay loop? Now to be honest, it's pretty brain dead, as you kind of just lob grenades everywhere, jolting everything in sight, creating ionic traces, and literally anything that you do, shooting your Forbearance, dodging, throwing more grenades, goes towards, well, getting more grenades. And with doing all of that, you create so many orbs. And collecting all these orbs not only keeps you alive, but also gets your grenade back, and in turn helps you get your super quicker. On top of this, Ashes the asset also helps us get our super quicker. So getting more orbs on top of Ashes the assets will also get our Gathering Storm faster. A weapon with Demolitionist also helps us get more grenade energy on top of this. Plus, every time you throw that grenade, you never have to reload. But yeah, that's about it with the build. And if you enjoyed this build, consider liking the video. This helps me out a lot more than you think. And consider subscribing, as I have a lot of builds on the channel that I'd love to share with you guys, and you don't want to miss that. Comment down below if you made any tweaks to this build, or if you think Beyonce's the devil. Dim link to the build will be down below. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Peace and love, baby.